Hello everyone, so today we're going to be doing a video that I have not done in a while. We're going to try a reading vlog. I've done this before, but those ones I did just like 12 hours or 24 hours at a time. This time I'm going to try the classic BookTube weekly reading vlog. So I have a couple series that have recently released new volumes, and I want to go ahead and read those new volumes because I'm on the fence about continuing the series. So I thought I would just go ahead and read those all in one video. So let me show you what I have. First, I have Dark Gathering. I have volumes 4 and 5. I really should have read volume 4 before volume 5 came out, but at this point, there's both of these because this is one I really did not enjoy the first two volumes, but then volume 3 came out and was a little bit better. Sorry if you can hear my cat in the background, but this is one that I definitely need to hurry up and read because if I don't end up enjoying it, I don't want to waste any more money on pre-orders that I have up. So I'm gonna go ahead and read these in this video. Then I have the Darwin Incident volume 3. Volume 4 comes out in like 2 days. I think at this point I can't cancel my pre-order for it, but I figured I should read this volume anyway. Volume 2 was very dramatic, but almost in a cartoonish way. The ending of that volume I really hated, so we'll see how this one goes. I'm really enjoying the conflict with Charlie here on the cover and his kind of dealing with the fact that he is half chimp, half human, but all the political terrorism stuff is just not enjoyable to read at all. So we'll see how this goes. If I get volume 4 in the mail in time, I will try to include that one as well. Hopefully it changes gears and I enjoy it, but we'll see. And then the last volume for this section of things I need to read in this video is Tales of the Kingdom, volume 4. This is told in a kind of interesting way where it focuses on like 2 people at a time and kind of their stories. And it's interesting enough, but then it just gets like very explicit for a very long time, and I assume because this volume is also in plastic that it's going to continue with that. So yeah, hopefully we get more about the kingdoms and the politics and stuff and not just the stuff from volume 3 is what I'm thinking of, but I will let you know my thoughts on this one. And then I just have some other volumes that have come out recently that I want to read. Volume 4 of Yokohama Kaidaishi Kiko. I am enjoying that series. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but in terms of me and slice of life, it's going pretty well for now. Next I have volumes 18 and 19 of Something's Wrong With Us. These are the last 2 volumes. These are kind of side stories. Volume 17 was its own contained mystery, and I think volume 18 and volume 19 are the same. And so I'm very confident I can read all of these in the next week, and so if I finish these then I have some other things that I'm thinking of picking up. But I'm thinking I will probably start with Dark Gathering, so I will go ahead and update you once I've read those volumes. Alright, I'm back with some volumes of manga that I've read. I'm going to start with the Darwin Incident volume 3. This manga is the epitome of mixed feelings for me. So on the one hand, you have characters that are basically just tropes or caricatures dialed all the way up to 11 with 0 depth at all. You also have this whole vegan terrorism plot line that takes up a huge portion of the story, but it's just so evil it feels cartoonish. At one point, one of the characters mentions that this situation feels like something straight out of South Park, and that's really what this entire manga feels like. I just can't take any of it seriously, especially the dialogue as well. It really feels like just random Twitter arguments, not anything a real person would say in real life. At one point, a character has to warn another character that their milk is almond milk and not regular milk. It's just so silly. And so when you're dealing with situations that are as serious as this manga wants to tackle, to have those conversations read just so immaturely, it really does not make for a good reading experience. So all of that sounds really terrible, right? And I did not like reading like 90% of this volume, but then at the end, we have something happen that I do not like. I do not like what happened, but it's going to make Charlie, our main character here, reevaluate who he is, how he wants to deal with life. And he's really the only reason I'm still reading the series, because his situation as half human, half chimpanzee means that lots of people are really involved in his life. And he's just trying to live as a normal person, going to high school. but he has this terrorist group after him. His parents have ideals for him. The people in the town that he lives in are really against him because of the terrorism, but also because they hate vegans. But anyway, the end of this volume just really makes me want to see what Charlie does and how he decides to deal with this new situation. He is really the only interesting character in here. The main female character is okay, but Charlie is what I'm reading this for, and it really sucks because, like I said, the vast majority of this volume was super unenjoyable, but the part with Charlie is so interesting. So I guess I'm gonna give this one more volume again because I don't know, I do want to see what happens with Charlie. I really hope the rest of it gets better, but I have a feeling it won't. But yeah, I should maybe see if my library is picking this up, either physically or digitally, so I can maybe read it there instead of buying these volumes that I'm not enjoying. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, this is definitely not one I would recommend for all of the reasons I already listed, but I guess I am going to read the next volume. And after that, I read volumes 4 and 5 of Dark Gathering. This is another series that I wasn't really enjoying at all, but luckily, even though we've moved past my favorite character here, I am actually enjoying the new direction that we've taken. In volume 4, they basically moved on to a new arc where now they're going to be exploring like actual haunted places in Japan and kind of dealing with the ghosts that are said to haunt these places. And that sounds genuinely interesting to me. So far, each volume has kind of followed one of these locations. So not as bad as the beginning of this manga where it was like one chapter was dealing with one ghost and it was just too episodic. This one gets to explore them more in depth, and we have cool ghost fights between these dark things, dark spirits. And so all of that is way more interesting to me. So these last 2 volumes were pretty good. However, I did notice something because I just happened to be reading a couple chapters of this on the Shonen Jump app, just because I was lazy and I didn't want to hold the volume in my hand. But I noticed that the art in the digital version is a lot more detailed than the printed version. It's a lot clearer, and there's some like supernatural glowing effects in here, especially with like eyes of ghost characters. And sometimes a spirit will have like a dark aura around them, and that really does not translate well in the printed version of this. It all gets kind of muddy and a little bit hard to follow. It definitely doesn't have the same atmosphere as the digital version does. And for a manga that relies so much on the creepy atmosphere, it just is not good to lose that in the physical version. So even though I am enjoying this more, because of those reasons, I am going to unhaul these 5 volumes I have and just keep reading it digitally. It's just not worth it to me to keep this when there is a better version available for me to read and one that will help me enjoy it more. But the other thing I noticed is that I feel like, I know there is an anime for this, and this might actually be better as an anime. If it's done well, it can definitely be really scary. I haven't watched any of the anime. I know my friend likes it, so maybe I should check that out if I ever get back to watching anime. But yes, I am happy to say I am enjoying this series more, but I am going to unhaul these volumes because I'll just keep reading it digitally instead. All right, that was it for this update. I think now I will go ahead and read Tales of the Kingdom Volume 4. I don't know if I will update you about this, but we'll see if I have any thoughts that are worth sharing on this series. If not, I'll film another clip when I have read something else that I want to share with you. Okay, so it's been a few days since I filmed that first clip. I wanted to film like every day, every other day in this vlog. That's my plan, or that was my plan. But I have not had a good week, to say the least, so I have been reading, I just haven't been vlogging, but I thought I would talk about the things I've read so far. So last night, during our Friday night reading sprints with the Manga Reading Sprint squad, I read Volume 1 of Otto and Volume 1 of My Name is Shingo, and I'm showing these to you to show that I've read them, but I'm not going to actually talk about them until my try-a-volume video, which I'm pretty sure will be the one after this one. So I will talk about these and I think 5 other newish titles that came out recently. So look forward to that, but I do actually have things I can talk about in this video. Firstly is the one I was dreading reading, and that is Tales of the Kingdom Volume 4. I will say this volume was not as bad as Volume 3, but I have decided to go ahead and drop the series. The parental advisory warning here is definitely there for a reason. These volumes are wrapped for a reason. And while this volume in particular wasn't quite as explicit as Volume 3, and I do feel like it makes sense for the royal setting here for it to be as explicit as it is. To me, it's still just kind of gratuitous. There are some really interesting power struggles and lots of backstabbing and things going on in this volume, but unfortunately that's just not enough for me to stay engaged and wanting to pick up the next volume, especially with how slow these releases are, which I don't think is a yen press thing. I think it's just a really slow release in Japan. We also finally see some of these storylines connect, which I wasn't sure they were actually going to do, but some of them do in this volume. But yeah, I was pretty sure I was going to drop the series before this volume came out. So even though it did things better than the previous one, it still wasn't enough to keep me interested. And next I read a volume of a series that I haven't picked up in a while. I can't remember when I read the first volume. I think it was in a try a volume video, but I read volume 2 of Heterogenea Linguistico, and I don't know if it's because it's been so long since I read the first volume, but this one really felt like it was lacking something. The charm is kind of gone. So if you don't know, this series is about this guy here on the front. He's kind of following in the footsteps of the professor that he follows, and throughout his journey he's going and studying different mythical creatures, kind of like this is a little wolf girl, and you can see this snake thing on the back, and there's like wolf people and cat people and harpies and crocodile people, and he basically studies their language and their different cultures. So in the first volume it was really interesting to see all the different creatures' quirks and how they communicated and how the main character had to learn more about them in order to understand what they're saying. And I really felt like in this volume, he doesn't seem to be making any progress. I felt in the first volume, he was learning things. He was making progress, he was writing notes and getting better. But I felt in this volume, it was just a lot of dialogue bubbles where parts of the words were blocked out because the main character couldn't understand what they were saying. And that was throughout the entire volume, and I didn't feel like he was making any progress whatsoever. Instead, it was just panel after panel after panel of blacked out text, and that's just not fun to read. Unfortunately, the creatures that we meet in this volume are not as interesting to me as the ones in volume 1, although I do like the Minotaur guy on the back. I do have 2 more volumes of this series in my collection, so I'll go ahead and read those before making a decision on whether I want to continue the series or not. This is another one with a very, very slow release schedule, but this one isn't plot driven at all, so it's not really a problem reading those releases so slowly. Although I did just say maybe it's been too long since I read the first volume because it kind of lost its charm. But if I do another one of these vlogs, maybe I'll try to read those other 2 volumes I have of this to let you know what decision I've made. All right, so that's what I'm going to update you with now. I will come back later on and probably finish off the vlog with the last few things I've read. All right, now I'm back for my last update, and this time I read volumes 18 and 19 of Something's Wrong With Us. These are the final 2 volumes of this series, and these are kind of self-contained little stories in each one, although these 2 definitely bleed into each other. So the actual ending of the manga was volume 16. These last 3 were just kind of extra scenes, wrapping up some things, especially with some certain characters that have an ending in the regular series, but they have more of an ending here. So these volumes were fine, definitely not my favorites in the series, but I do really, really enjoy the series. I'm really happy that I gave it a chance because it is a genre that I normally wouldn't read, but this manga is just so dramatic. I didn't know so many crazy things could happen in the world of candy making, but this series makes me believe it. So definitely really happy to have finished the series. And then the rest of the manga I read was actually on the K-Manga app. I recently, because I figured I'm going to be reading more digital manga soon, that I needed an iPad because I read manga on my phone, but it's not the most enjoyable experience ever. And it would just be nicer to appreciate the art and things to read it on an iPad. So I got myself an iPad. I know it doesn't look like an iPad. This is the cover for it. I thought that was funny. So I have an iPad. So on my iPad, I finally started using the K-Manga app more. And so I started reading My Dearest Self with Malice Aforethought, which I hate that title. I hate it. I think some other languages use the title The Killer Inside or something, and I like that title much better, even though it's a little bit more simplistic. This title is just very much a mouthful. So this is like a psychological thriller manga about this character here. His name is Eiji, and he's just kind of a normal guy. He's in university. He really wants a girlfriend. And then one day he wakes up and there's a girl in his bed that he doesn't know, and she says that she is his girlfriend, and they got together recently, but he has no memory of this. And then he comes to find out that he actually has a 3-day gap in his memory where he has apparently gotten in a fight and has his girlfriend, and he has no idea what's going on. He has no memory of this. So I don't want to say too much more than that because there is a lot of mystery happening in this manga. You can maybe probably tell what might be happening based on the title of this manga, but in the first volume, I wasn't completely hooked. It was interesting enough, but I felt like it was already trying to do too much. But after we get past the first 3 volumes, I've read through volume 4 at this point. I just finished volume 4 like half an hour ago. And wow, there's definitely some twists happening in this manga. So I'm definitely hooked now. This is 11 volumes completed. It's all here on the K-Manga app. It's also available through digital volumes through like Kindle or whatever. This is one I don't have in my Humble Bundle library from Kodansha at all. So I'm having a good time reading it on the app. I don't think it's gonna be anything amazing, but it's a fun psychological thriller. Entertaining enough. I'm interested to see what's gonna happen next. I'll probably give my thoughts on the entire series in my end of the month wrap-up video that I do. So that's pretty much everything I read this week. Like I said, have not had a good week, but I did also read a novel. This is Chlorine, and I started The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. I haven't gotten very far into this, only like 60 pages I think, but I really do need to read this because it's almost due at the library. I'm not going to talk about those here though, but if you've gotten this far in the video, please let me know what you thought of this video. I do have plans to make this more interesting instead of just 3 clips of the manga I've read. I do want to kind of break it up more. Like I said, I had plans, but this week has sucked. So yeah, please look forward to my next video, which should hopefully be a try a volume video. I could do those in a similar vlog style, but I like the way that I just read them all, write down my thoughts, and talk about them in one clip like this. I do want to do more of these vlog style of videos. I think they're really fun and a nice way for me to talk about series where like a new volume comes out and I don't have enough thoughts to share with you in like my end of the month wrap up video, but if I'm filming a vlog then I can just say, hey, here's the volume I read, here are my quick 3 thoughts about it, and then put it down and talk about something else. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Please look forward to my try a volume video, which should be next, and I'll see you then. Bye!